publication that's called Fertigation for Vegetables. Same process can be used for citrus. So look at this and you can modify it as we go for citrus. The first step is always get a soil test. In vegetables, we do it just prior to bedding, the application of the fertilizer. In citrus, it's typically done in the summer months so that you can adjust either your current or next year's fertilizer practices. The second step is to calculate planted acreage. In citrus, we do that by a linear foot of bed. In citrus, it's very similar. We just calculate a planted acre, and that with citrus that doesn't change. With vegetables, that could change from year to year. Step number 3 is to select the correct fertilizer. In that publication, and there's another publication called Considerations of Fertilizer Materials for Citrus. They also apply to vegetables. They talk about individual types of material. If you're getting just raw material, ammonium nitrate, other materials, if you're just bringing that in and making your own mixture, you can determine the characteristics of those fertilizers, how much water it takes to dissolve those fertilizers, but we won't go into that detail here. But that can be calculated. The best way is just to buy a blend from your fertilizer formulator. Tell them what you want, they'll make you a blend, they'll tell you what's in that solution, and then you know what you're starting with as far as calculating your fertigation. Step 4 is calculating the amount of fertilizer you need, and that varies on time of year for both crops, for citrus and vegetables. Vegetables, in the vegetable production guide, and we'll show you a page of that just in a moment, but there it's broken down by weeks. Certain weeks after planting, you apply so much fertilizer, so many pounds of nitrogen per week to that crop. So that's what it refers to when it talks about the amount of fertilizer to apply. In citrus, we typically recommend to apply 2/3 of the amount of fertilizer in the spring before May, 1/3 after that. So you want to apply enough applications prior to May to get about 2/3 of your material out. The rest of it, preferably after the rainy season. Well, if you are putting it out during the rainy season, you should consider control release fertilizers. Number 5 is to determine how much is needed for the planted area. Again, that's just determining how much planted area you are fertigating with one valve, and the amount of fertilizer that you want to apply to that one section. So you can calculate that. If you know or you will know the amount of fertilizer you have in your solution, you'll know the weight of the solution, so you can calculate the number of gallons of material of the solution that you will be injecting into your system at each fertilizer application. So just as an example, a very quick example, if you want to put out, say 10 pounds of nitrogen per acre that you're putting out, you have 10 acres, that's 100 pounds of nitrogen. If your solution is a 10% nitrogen solution that has a density of 10 pounds per gallon, so you'll have to look on the label to get the density of the material. Water is roughly 8 pounds per gallon. Fertilizers range in the 10 to 11 pound range. So if it's 10 pounds per gallon, and these calculations are in that publication, but 10 pounds per gallon at 10% is roughly 1 pound of fertilizer per gallon of material. So the way you calculate that is that if you have 1 gallon equals 10 pounds of material, and it's a 10% nitrogen solution, that means there's 1 pound of nitrogen in that 1 gallon of solution. So if the goal is to apply 50 pounds of nitrogen, you're going to apply 50 gallons of fertilizer to 1 acre. of land. If you have more than 1 acre, you multiply that out. Okay? So that would give you the amount of fertilizer to add. Next, you need to determine the time of injection, and this goes back to knowing how long you have to apply water before you're leaching water below the root zone. So ideally, you want to apply the fertilizer no longer than you would do a normal irrigation. So if we use the example of 20 minutes, you need to irrigate no more than 20 minutes at one run time. Then you need to apply only the amount of fertilizer you can apply out in less than 20 minutes. If that means you apply multiple times, say per week, then that's what you should do to operate the system effectively and not to leach nutrients. Now, it goes through the calculation in this publication, and I'd like for you to pay attention to that. You have to not only know how long you want to run your system, you need a couple other pieces of information. One, you need to know how long it takes once you've started the pump to pressurize your system. So that's pretty easy. You can do that just by looking at your pressure gauges at your system. Once your system is completely full, your pressure will come to a steady state, and you'll know exactly how long it's taken to pressurize your system, fill the system up with water. So that's the first number. The second number is how long does it take once you've stopped injecting fertilizer, how long does it take for that fertilizer to get to the very last emitter, either a drip emitter or micro sprinkler in your block. And that has to be done typically either with dye or with a salinity meter. If you look at the salinity of the water, you can tell when that water has the salts have gone out of the water, your fertilizer has gone out of the water, and that'll give you the amount of time it takes once you've stopped injection to get to that last point. And so you want to run the system long enough to pressurize the system, but also have enough time after that, after you've stopped injecting, to clear the lines of fertilizer. So if it takes 10 minutes, well, let's say it takes 5 minutes to pressurize the system. It's going to be that or less, typically. And it takes 10 minutes for the fertilizer to go to the end emitter once you've stopped fertigating. You want to start your fertigation 5 minutes after you've started. You want to run 5 minutes more after you've stopped your fertilizer injection.